Hey guys, it's Kaylee. I am back with another As Seen on Celebrity video. Today we're going to be talking about bolos once again in the Vampire Diaries series. If you guys are new to this series, I do have a playlist with all of the As Seen on Celebrity bolos that I've done. This is a part 2 of Vampire Diaries, and I'm doing another part, one, because you guys asked for it, but also two, there are so many things within Vampire Diaries that were shown on the TV show that we're probably walking right past in everyday brands that sometimes go for hundreds of dollars. And so to be honest, I could probably do one like every week until the end of the year because there's really that many. But for now, let's dive in. So you guys might have heard me mention a couple of times that there are certain brands that frequently pop up in the TV shows. I think maybe companies like working with certain brands, or maybe they just fit the overall aesthetic. They pick a couple of brands and they go with it. I'm not really sure how that works because I am not in the movie industry or the TV industry, but it's just a pattern that I've noticed. And so in this video, I've tried to gather some of the more frequent brands that I'm seeing so that when you do come across the brand and it is an older style or an older label and it looks like some of these pieces, you'll know to at least Google Lens it to figure out if it is as seen on or if it's just, a regular item. So one of the brands that popped up pretty frequently was Banana Republic. I only pulled one to show you today, but just to show you how much some of these can go for, these are all recent solds, meaning within the past few months. And this first one is a Banana Republic purple wrap dress. Now this color, this dark deep purple, very trendy in Y2K, specifically in this show was very trendy. So anything I see with this color purple, I always think of Elena Gilbert from Vampire Diaries. And pretty much all of the items you're going to see today were shown on Elena Gilbert. So Banana Republic, purple wrap dress, pretty plain item. The other thing about As Seen On stuff is it's really hard to tell what it is in some of these shows because as you can see, the lighting is much, much different than you would see it today. So I heavily rely on other people who are fanatics of the show to do the work for me. And so I'm just looking through the solds in eBay and in Poshmark. So we're going to assume that all of these on eBay sold within about 20% of asking price. So we're looking at probably about $60 to $80 that this Banana Republic wrap dress sold for. Next up, this is one that I actually meant to show you in part 1. Completely forgot. I don't know what happened, but I've got multiple examples to show you today. Guess is one of the most sought after brands in these As Seen on bolos for Vampire Diaries, and that's because there are a lot of them, and it's just one of the more popular styles that people are looking for. Guess tank tops, the Y2K ones in particular, there's several that I'll show you today, but if you see any kind of Guess tank top that looks like it could be Y2K, it was more than likely on Vampire Diaries, and if nothing else, you can sell it as the alternatives that we've talked about in previous As Seen On videos. So this is one of them, and a lot of them that do really well have that Guess upside down triangle patch on the bottom. So if you see that, maybe an indicator if it's a tank top, hey, I might need to look this up, might need to do a Google Lens. These ones get very pricey depending on what they are. This one sold for close to $90. This one is probably the most sought after style that I can find. This one I actually think got undersold. I'll show you a couple examples here in a second, but it is this style in particular that is very heavily sought after. It's almost like a burnout look to it, and it is a Henley. You can also see that Guess patch at the bottom as well. So we're going to assume this one sold for around $60. Here is the same one that sold for $100 recently. This one sold on Poshmark. So I think it's all about how you present it, and you have to know what you have. And also with these As Seen On things, probably be willing to wait for the right buyer. So this Guess tank top, again, one of the most sought after ones. You can also sell them in multiple different colors as alternatives, and they go for just about as much, but this red one right here is the one that most people are looking for. Here is another Guess tank top. This one is also very highly sought after and probably goes for the most money. This is part of the car wash scene, and I've seen this multiple times go for $200 to $300 pre-owned. Now it is a very trendy style, definitely has that Y2K milkmaid look to it. I'll show you the label here. This one had multiple flaws on it and sold for $245. So here is your Guess label. And again, I would say pretty much any Guess tank top you come across that you think has an older looking label, just look it up. There's a lot of Guess ones. I didn't get to show you all of them today, but wanted to show you a few. All right, for some reason I keep thinking that I've shown you this one already, but I could not find it when I did a really quick run through of the last video. So if I have already showed you it, I'm sorry, but it's worth showing again. So this is a lacy mud t-shirt. These sheer lacy kind of like to wear over or under something are very trendy right now regardless because of some of the Y2K styles that people like, but this particular mud shirt has the exact pattern that was worn on Catherine Pierce in Vampire Diaries. And so I see a lot of alternatives with this as well. This one sold for around $60. Here's an alternative one, not the same brand, definitely not the same pattern, but was marketed as an alternative, and it sold for around $50. So you can see this person really went all out, showing the different ways that it could be worn as an alternative. If you're not familiar with alternatives, watch some of my other As Seen On videos, the more earlier ones where I explain alternatives. Another frequent brand that I saw is American Eagle. American Eagle tank tops, similar to Guess. If you find any of them that look older, you're definitely going to want to look them up. Very similar to Guess, they also have their little logo down here. Now this one's the exact color, exact style, and it went for close to $100. Here is another one. She actually wore multiple colors in the show. There's probably more than just these. Again, I only pulled a few to show you today, but same exact style, same exact logo down here, matches the one in the photo, and it also went for around $100. And just showing you how plain these look if you were to come across them in a thrift store. It's not a super old looking label. It's actually printed on. You could see the possibilities if you found pretty much any American Eagle tank top that looks like this, especially with a lace trim, and marketing it as an alternative. Here's another brand that popped up pretty frequently. There's several bolos for Aeropostale. This one in particular is a short sleeve one that goes for about $50, and again, shown on the show as a slightly different color. You can also see same thing. We have a little logo here, fitted details. They all have about the same silhouette. This one's really hard to see because the photos are somewhat blurry, but there is a pleated kind of lacy look here. You can see it a little bit more clearly in this photo. So lots of Aeropostale stuff. Another brand that frequently pops up is Urban Outfitters and Anthropologie, but specifically Kimchi Blue comes up a lot. So still coming across a lot of that. This particular one I saw popping up pretty frequently. It goes for about $40 to $50. So not much, but not a lot of us pick up Kimchi Blue anymore, especially in a lightweight, shorter length dress. So this is definitely a pattern that you want to memorize and be aware of in Kimchi Blue. This one is another one that is very heavily sought after, and it is by the brand Old Navy. You'll notice a lot of similar colors in these two, so the purples, the reds, and the blues. This one is another Y2K baby doll style top, kind of that same milkmaid look. These ones go about $100 to $150. There's actually quite a few of them in solds, which tells me you're pretty likely to come across them. And you can sell different colors as alternatives for probably around $50 to $60, which is absolutely crazy for Old Navy. Here's the tag. All right, next up, this is something I would look for regardless. It is Abercrombie and Fitch Y2K micro mini skirts. Now there is a difference between micro mini and just mini. It's got to be really, really, really tiny micro. This one was actually the exact one shown on Vampire Diaries, and it sold for $63. So if you find pretty much any micro denim skirt, it's just trending in general, but you might be able to get a little bit more if you market it as an As Seen On alternative. This one is a little bit more rare. However, I still wanted to show it. It is by the brand Nicole Miller. Gorgeous dress, black lace with nude details. This one goes for around $200, sometimes even more depending on the size. But like I said, it's a little bit harder to come across. Here is the much older label. Can also tell by the material tag inside how old it is. This is another one that is a little bit more rare and definitely a higher end brand, which is Alice and Olivia. I don't pick up a whole lot of Alice and Olivia anymore. It really has to be a very specific piece because the brand as a whole, the sell-through rate's really gone down. But if I were to come across this dress, I'd probably look it up just because of the Y2K style to it. There were also multiple Alice and Olivia pieces that I saw in solds. So this particular dress if you can find it, goes for around $300. If you were to just look up Alice and Olivia lace dresses, without knowing that this is an alternative, you might actually put it back on the shelf just because sell-through rate is not super high and a lot of the comps don't look as good as $300. So this is why it pays to know exactly what pieces you should be looking for. And lastly, I threw in a pair of shoes. These are interesting. I actually did go back and confirm that these are the ones that are sold on the show because the seller didn't have a picture of the scene, but these were worn on Elena Gilbert and they are by Sam Edelman, which I don't know about you guys, but is a brand I come across pretty frequently at the bins, at thrift stores, and I don't pick up hardly any of it because most styles tend to be oversaturated. They're just mass produced and there's a lot out there, but I'm absolutely going to be keeping my eye out for these knee-high boots. These sold very recently for $100 and there isn't a lot out there on the resale market. So if you do find them, definitely list them. Put in those great keywords, ASO, Vampire Diaries, and Elena Gilbert. All right, guys, that is it for part 2 of Vampire Diaries. Let me know if you're sick of this TV show. I actually really love Vampire Diaries. I need to actually finish it, so no spoilers alert, but this is a great show to watch as well as many others that I am featuring here on the channel to just learn as seen on Celebrity Bolos, but also just what Y2K pieces, what styles, what factors people are looking for. This is a great show to do that with. I'm going to keep going with this series, so if you want a part 3, drop it in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!